Okay, this is actually trending on Twitter right now, and I was like, you know what, man, me and Coop need to talk about this on live because I think we've talked about this before, but not in recent time. Who would you say is the most influential rapper of all time?
I mean, I'm gonna probably go back to Tupac again, but I mean that's probably my age, time, and personal bias too. If you told me Kanye or Wayne, I wouldn't argue with you too much. I would just state Pac's case appropriately in
Okay,
relation
I'm
to.
agree. I'm gonna agree with you. I think that overall, and I think I told you this offline. Like, obviously, Rakim stylistically, we hear everybody in Rakim, right? So he's kind of like a whole different type of figure for that. But as far as like image wise, musically, lyrically, even, and even the fact that we don't really give Pac that credit for song structure on a radio level, because a lot of people have what Pac has when it comes to how do you put together songs that are palatable to urban radio or just crossover radio. He has that impact there. I'm gonna say Pac as well. Now, if we were gonna do it by decades and different eras, I'm gonna say Rakim in the '80s. I would say Pac in the '90s. Like I said, I got Pac overall. In the 2000s, I think Kanye is probably the most influential. In the 2010s, I might say Wayne
Okay.
because they got
So
kids everywhere, and I think you kind of judge those things by how many kids people got. Yeah,
it's well. Here's the thing with it too, and I'm not being funny when I say this or trying to throw shade. Pac is dropping singles that are outselling the East Coast rap artist albums. Like How Do You Want It? Hit 'em Up, California Love. I ain't mad at you. Like the singles are doing better than a lot of major rappers' albums.
yeah,
The singles, and so it's not that just the records. Like some of these songs are like hip hop classics, but they're like major in terms of the notoriety. And then you go back and listen to the writing that's going on, and some of the writing is pretty major too. Even on how do you want it, Mike? He's going, see Dolores Tucker, use a motherfucker instead of trying to help a nigga, you destroyed a brother. Worse than the others, Bill Clinton, Mr. Bob Dole. You're too old to understand the way the game's told. You're lame,
lame.
so
So
I
I
gotta
gotta
hit
hit
you
you
with
with
the
the
hot
hot.
facts.
Yeah. Um. Oh my God. Hold on 1 second, man. I need to put my shit on Do Not Disturb. People just be blowing me up, man. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. I want to get the Ray Rims super chat. He says, Mike D and Coop, is Eric Sermon exaggerating when he says he brought hip hop to Atlanta?
He's one of the first guys to move down here that I've heard of and that I've known of. So I wouldn't totally discredit that. It just depends. He needs to clarify what he's saying when he's saying that.
Right.
Yeah,
I would say yes, he's exaggerating.
yeah.
I
I would
think
just,
that's gonna have me on.
I would like some clarification when he's saying that because it's like, well, Short been coming down here for a while. Pac was down here. You know, like a lot of guys have been like sliding down here on the low.
Well, the
You know,
thing is, it's like, okay, again,
Ray
that's
was coming down here. That's how Ray ends up on Aquemini. And you hear 2 Chainz talking about it's like, yeah, I used to sell weed to Raekwon when Ray used to come down here. So it's
yeah,
like, oh,
man. Him and
dude, here.
I think him and Big Boy ran into each other at Lenox Mall at the at one of those shoe stores or whatnot, and it was like, yo, man, we recording the album, let's go collaborate real quick, and it happened.
Right.
I think too. I mean, it's kind of an East Coast thing once again. Like, obviously, we know hip hop started in New York, and we're forever grateful for what happened in the Bronx and the surrounding areas in New York City. But I think to say you brought hip hop to Atlanta is kind of saying, okay, well, New York hip hop is real hip hop, and I brought that to Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, Atlanta was doing hip hop in the '80s. It was
Mm.
happening. LP with the super chat says, Godson across the belly. Dudes got tats because of pop.
Yeah,
Interesting. Mad Max
that's
says, Pac, Rakim, LL are the most influential. Rakim changed the schemes, gave y'all the blueprint. Pac is the image. People picture. Also, the guys like Ye because he made guys like Cole, Kendrick, Drake. cool for their run. Yeah, I mean, he made it cool to just be yourself. I mean, I think that's the impact of Kanye West. Now, as far as pop, I think everything you said is like totally on point. I think Pac was kind of a mixture of. This is how I put it. You got Chuck D, right? And I think that Ice Cube is kind of like the younger, updated version of Chuck D at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pac he could be Chuck D, Cube,
Mm-hmm.
LL, and Scarface all in one person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Those would be, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, actually, Mike. Those would be the four people that I think he probably pulled from that he heard. I mean, there's even talks like, about, I think in one of his biops, about how he was talking about the time that he rhymed for Chuck D backstage, and he was like, Chuck D told me I had flows, and that like meant something to Pop that Chuck said that.
yeah,
So when you listen to his social commentary,
he wrote
I mean,
letters to Chuck D. You
I
know.
mean, it's straight. I mean, his social commentary is Chuck D meets Ice Cube.
hmm Nas the Goat says, I would say Future for the 2010s. I'm not mad at that either. Y'all
You
know
could
how I feel about Future.
you could say that, but I mean, he's not gonna make. That's what I'm saying. You can't like Future's not gonna make the. It's not gonna make the final round against Tupac.
This is the case that I would make for Wayne, right? No, he's talking about for the 2010s. This is the case that I would make for Wayne. Wayne directly gave us Drake and Nicki, right? That's just direct. And then outside of that, when you talk about the way these guys are out here looking, the way people are approaching rap music, that is
Right,
all derivative of Wayne, man. I mean,
right,
it's kind of like when you look
right.
at Allen Iverson and the way he brought tattoos to the NBA.
Oh, Mike, that's great. The Allen Iverson context is great because as much as I love AI personally, it's like, well, we'll rank them all time. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
if you rank them all time, he's really more like 20 to 25. And that's probably like where I probably would have Wayne as an MC. But it's like, oh, talk about impact. It's like, I don't know, third, fourth. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I think, again, even when, regardless of how people feel about him, like even when you look at the Kodak Blacks and you look at the Young Thugs and
Oh, all these guys.
these
All these
guys
guys.
come from the tree of Wayne.
Everybody come out of the South Coast 2010. About 85% of them.
Yeah. LP with the super chat says, Dance is a true favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Who said Dance? Who was he trying to say? Maybe Pac. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Pac is everybody's favorite rapper. And again, I was one of those people who was more into Biggie when both of them were alive. But I think when it comes down to the music aging well and you going back to it at later parts of your life, like those Tupac records still hit deep.
That so how about this? So when people talk about Kendrick, it's like these Kendrick records that are talking about these themes that Pac and Nas and Kanye and other people have covered before. It's not staying with you like the Pac records. We're still talking about So Many Tears and Dear Mama and Brenda's Got a Baby and Keep Your Head Up. Like we're still talking about these records. You like
That's the problem, man. That's the problem. When it comes to Kendrick's all-time rating per se,
can't mess
he
with I
has
ain't mad at
all.
you. There's no I ain't mad at you on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Don't tell me that. There's not. There's not a How Do You Want It. There's not a No More Pain. There's not Ambitions of a Rider. There's no Picture of Me Rolling. Like, and that's not to put him just like directly up against Pac, but it's like understand the gravity of these records that Pac is making. Pac is being thought provoking, insightful, controversial, riding the beat, making you sing along. Great hook writing. If not, it's hook writing. It's hook singing from his writing. Like he's everything. And it's like, so when you're telling me Kendrick's album is great, it's like, no, I'm like, that's great writing. If you want to hear like what the whole package sounds like, go listen to All Eyes on Me.
DeCarlo says that Gucci is high on that influence list too. Yes, he is. Gucci got a lot of kids out there.
Yeah, we'll put him. He'd be top 15 influence.
Oh, LP said he met Scarface. Yeah, Scarface is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
Yes.
Yeah, Gucci is very high on that. I think that, and not to mention the fact that he directly influenced artists, but he put artists on too. I remember one of the first interviews I did for According to Hip Hop. It was with an up and coming MC out of Queens, New York. And I asked him, this was I was kind of early on in this thing, so I was asking a bunch of generic questions. And I asked him like, who are your influences? And he was like, Gucci Mane, number one influence. I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? And I mean, it's real. Like Gucci Mane's reach was ever reaching. And again, I mean, Nicki Minaj got some of her first starts with Gucci also. I was gonna say something in regards to what you was talking about with Pac and Kendrick. Okay, this is what I was gonna say. Is it fair to say, and I've heard people say this, what do you think about this statement? Is Kendrick Lamar the Black Eminem?
How is that being said? Is that being
when it
said?
comes to talking about how well he writes, but the song's not really getting the play that some of your all-time greats get in hip-hop?
Yes. Because here's what I was about to say. You know what I put on the other day, too? It actually just came on randomly. 4016 Building?
Mm-hmm.
The second verse to that song is expressing a lot of the themes that are on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, but guess what? He's in and out with those thoughts, Mike, so that the record could be entertaining for you. Pac, that's that Pac influence. That's that influence that Pac has on Nas. It's like, no. When you kick in that knowledge, you got to be in and out with it and keep the people entertained. That's how we take my quotes. I'm here to give hope. Start a company from one of my phrases. See how deep that is, but how simply put that is? That's that Pac influence on Nas. But that's part of what makes 4016 such a tour de force. No, he's kicking knowledge on there. He's also beating the mic up like it's nobody's business. He's also switching his flow up. He's doing so many other things. And so when you go to Kendrick and you're like, do you hear what he's writing about and how in-depth it is? It's like, yeah, did you just hear Nas do that and do about 7 other things too? And do it in one verse? Which is what Tupac's catalog looks like?
Right. LP with the super chat says 3-6 Mafia's flow and production is super influential. Yes, it is. Don't get me started on those guys.
Okay, so I would put 3-6 ahead of Gucci in terms of influence. They've been around longer, and I hear DJ Paul everywhere.
I hear the production style and flow-wise in many ways. Honestly, let's just keep it real, and I think Gucci said this before
Gucci's
too.
flow comes from 3-6.
It does. Project Pat specifically. He says Project Pat was one of his favorite rappers, and I can hear it.
I thought he was. He got the same flow.
Yeah. Nas the GOAT says, where is Nas on y'all's influence list? That's a good question.
Don't play. I mean, that's a fascinating question just because he's inspired so many people, but it's like I've said, and I even said in the track, well, he comes from Rakim and G-Rap's tree. That's what's so beautiful about hip-hop is it keeps extending itself. Because if you hear like somebody like Kanye tell you, you'd be like, well, I really come from the tree of Nas more than I come from like J tree. You get what I'm saying? And
Let me ask you this though. I mean, because my answer is going to be Jay between the two, but yours might be different. Is Nas more influential than Jay?
No.
Yeah, I think Jay's more influential.
Right, but how about this? How about this? Nas is falling more like Rakim is. It's like, well, if you start getting into that nuance about the craft of MCing, it's like, well, Nas is responsible for like Kanye and Lupe and guys like that, and Eminem.
Is Nas responsible for Kanye?
I mean, according to Kanye.
Well, he said it's his favorite rapper. I feel like,
right,
kind of like what Kanye said, on College Dropout.
The dude's from Chi-Town.
I think he's a direct product of A Tribe Called Quest, in my personal opinion.
Who, Kanye?
Yeah.
Nah, he's something different than me, man.
He's an elevated version in many ways, but the basis and foundation of Kanye West is very Q-tip-ish when it comes to producer rapper, because I think he was privy to the knowledge that Q-Tip produced these albums.
I mean, okay, so so I've always said like Nas is where the backpacker and the baller meet. That's Kanye. That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
Not Tribe, like, because Kanye got like that baller in part.
Yeah, you're right. Like the flossy side.
Just like Nas got Esco. That's what I mean. That's Nas. That's not Tribe. Tribe don't have that flossy side.
I see what you mean.
Like Tribe ain't gonna make Tribe's not even going to name a record "Diamonds from Sierra Leone" and it not be a song about the plight of the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not going to talk right. He's not going to do it the way Ye did.
So you're talking more so perspective, and I mean, to be, perfectly honest, being conflicted with material and spiritual.
Yeah. What was Nas talking on We Made You? First line, and I don't know what I should write. Should it be about the hoes of the ice, four foes of Black Christ? Both foes would be nice. No, that's where Kanye get that shit from.
And then Kanye's like feeling better than some head on a sunny afternoon. Better than the chick to say yes too soon. Till you had a daughter, that's what I call karma. You pray to God she don't grow breasts too soon. Classic.
Classic. But where is he getting that from?
Yeah.
That's not from Jay.
Conflicted.
That's not from Tribe. That's not from Tribe. That's not from Jay. That's some Nas shit.
No, you're right. DeCarlo with the super chat says Gucci had the streets for a long time though. He did. And still does to a certain degree.
No. You want to talk about this is what I'm saying. Well, you can't put that ahead of 3-6. You know who still got the streets even past Gucci? 3-6. Like right now. Like right now. Like who?
Even if we listen to like Isaiah Rashad, you listen to most of the stuff that Metro makes. So if Metro and 21 makes so.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, even Knife Talk, you know what I'm saying? Drake shit.
I was just about to say Savage Mode 2. It's a straight 3-6 playoff.
LP with the super chat says 3-6 was real dirty South, gold teeth, dreadheads, not listening to nothing from New York. Dudes, LOL.
In 3-6 inspired Lil Jon too?
Yes. A lot of cats I grew up with loved 3-6 and hated Wu. You know what? I'm going to be honest, and I'm working on a few things. I don't want to talk about it yet, but me and my best friend growing up, we were real big 3-6 fans. While everybody was on the whole Cash Money, No Limit train, all we were listening to was like 3-6 stuff from like Killer Clan, Kazi, the Prophet Posse album, World Domination, The End. I could go on, and it's so crazy to both of us now that those songs that we used to listen to seemingly 25 years ago, we're hearing again. Like they're literally like the Parliament Funkadelic of hip hop, where it's like when it was going on, they had a niche market, but 20 years later, all the young kids are recycling what they were doing with love, of course, but
they created a market.
It's amazing, and it just shows you how well their stuff aged. Like you could hear that stuff from literally 20-something years ago and be like, yo, this could go now. Like I was listening to like Project Pat's first mixtape in '94. And what's the name of that one song, man? This Ain't No Game, nigga. This Ain't No Game, featuring SOG. I was listening to that, I was like, man, this shit could go now. This song is literally 28 years old.
Hold on. You want to know what they did? They were doing, I mean, and I'm not saying this in a shady way. They were doing simplistic, repetitive, easy to understand, but get your point across themes over heavy, hard-hitting beats at a time where being super lyrical and showing your vernacular and your skill on the mic was the thing. And so they got shunned initially because of that.
It was in your face.
No, I admit I was one of the people that shunned them. Like Six had to force feed me 3-6 Mafia before I got it. It probably wasn't until around the time that Sipping on Some Scissor was dropping that it had finally like started sticking with me.
And so you know what? And around that time, it's funny. Around that time for me and my boy Melvin, it was like, man, they not the same no more. They done sold out.
Right. No, I've heard that. That's how Six felt. He was like, he's like, now you like these niggas. I'm tired of these niggas.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, their glory days are gone. Because even when I see on the court in hip hop, a lot of people gravitate to 66, 61, which was When the Smoke Clears. I'm like, I like that album the least because they were losing the group. Coopster wasn't really on songs like that, and you could tell Gangsta Boo was on her way out. And they were featuring people they normally wouldn't feature. It just didn't feel the same. No. But that's growth.
When I went back, I noticed those same nuances and those things that you're talking about. But at the time, you have to understand, all those things that they did, it took all of that to get me to that point. So when they dropped Sipping on Some Scissor, I was like, oh, okay. And then I was able to go back and be like, oh,
And
Okay.
not to mention, the big factor for me, Lord Infamous's style completely changed. And not for the better. He
I
had
agree
an
with you.
underground flow and he had a mainstream flow, and I wasn't a fan of the mainstream flow. And he's kind of one of the people that brought me into listening to 3-6. Ryan Gillum with the super chat says Lupe is like a mixture of Nas, Jay, and ASAP Rock. I never really got an ASAP Rock like that. I know y'all love him, and a lot of
I like
people say he's the
that.
most lyrical ever.
Oh,
Godfather with the super chat says no one, no one rap. He don't. No one raps who don't influence Nas. I guess no one raps that wasn't influenced by Nas.
probably.
Yeah. That's, Ray Reynolds with the super chat says, I had 3-6 Mafia losing to only 2 songs in their verses against Bone, 22-2. LP says Getty Green can come out Friday and be current. That's real, especially Mr. Don't Play, man.